Hey guys, Matt here. A couple weeks ago, I put out a tweet asking if you guys had any questions that you wanted me to answer or wanted me to give my opinion on. So I gathered a couple of them, and I'm going to answer them now. Let's go. All right, first one here from Clark Hellscream reads, if you were in charge of Wild Hearthstone esports, how would you incentivize the format? This is a question I get asked a lot in stream. I think that after the mini set of each expansion, if you had some kind of invitational for Wild to kind of showcase the format and how the new cards interact with some of the old, it could really intrigue some of the older players or even the players that don't play anymore and just like old Hearthstone and the old cards. Bring that nostalgia factor back a little bit more and showcase it, and just maybe once an expansion cycle 3 times a year. Nothing crazy, but it's better than the zero that we have now, right? And I think that would be a great place to start. I think you could get the community, the Wild community, fired up, and not just the Wild community, honestly, just all Hearthstone players that have been around for a while, and even some people who have had their eye on Wild, and you see more people trying Wild every day. More people that have an eye on Wild to take the leap and actually give the format a stab. Our next question is from the Modified. Reads, after the displays, the whiteboard, and the Bat Mazel sign, what are the next upgrades to the back corner? And this is something I think about on a daily basis. I really value the production level of my stream and of my YouTube content, so this is something I go over every single day. And I think that a microphone is the next one. I've had this microphone that I'm using now since I first started streaming, so almost 4 years ago. I'm probably due for an upgrade. I think it sounds good, but you can make most mics sound pretty average with the correct settings in OBS and the correct filters, all that stuff. So I think I can take the next step in the audio department by getting a new microphone. So hopefully that's coming soon. All right, next question from Omega 3 reads, are there any underplayed or non-existent archetypes you'd want to see pushed with the new expansion? Yeah, the one that comes to mind for me is Odd Shaman, or some kind of a totem shaman in general. Now that they're getting rid of Wrath of Air totem, which is the spell damage totem, Odd Shaman takes a big hit. It's really rough. So I'd like to see some kind of totem-based shaman synergy. I think they have to make some kind of a shaman good, because it's been a while since we've had shaman be super relevant. So that would be nice for me personally to get pushed in the next expansion. The expansion's going forward. All right, next question from Silent Storm reads, what are your biggest fears in life? All right. The biggest fear in my life is not accomplishing my goals, which I think is a big fear for a lot of people, honestly, especially with how unpredictable the world is on a day-to-day basis. Keeping a level head and pushing forward and finding motivation to accomplish your goals can be very difficult. I know, as someone who's suffered with mental health issues in the past, I'm very public about that. It's a big fear of mine, of course, because coming up short never feels good, but it's important to enjoy the journey and the process over just the destination, and push towards something that you really learn a lot about yourself in facing adversity and obstacles in accomplishing those goals. And that's where you really grow as a person, and where you can truly learn to value yourself if that's something you struggle with. Next question from Sanin Slaya reads, should Hearthstone get a fusion mechanic where you fuse 2 minions into 1 bigger minion like in Yu-Gi-Oh? Now, this is a question that I ask myself a lot. I've thought about over the years constantly. Of course, I played Yu-Gi-Oh competitively for a long time, and I always try to think of ways that Hearthstone could integrate mechanics from Yu-Gi-Oh into the game. Fusion mechanic is not something I'd sign up for. I don't understand how you do that with a mana restriction, and even if you did with a mana restriction, it would probably be way too powerful and unfun for competitive players. So I would stay away from the fusion mechanic. However, something I'd really love in Hearthstone going forward are the concept of hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh cards like Effect Veiler. So it's a hand trap is a card that stays in your hand but has an ability on your opponent's turn of some kind. So Effect Veiler, during your opponent's main phase in Yu-Gi-Oh, which is basically when they're making their pre or post combat actions, you can discard the Effect Veiler and negate the effect of a minion on the board. I think something like that effect veiler kind of a style where somebody plays a battle cry minion, like your opponent plays a battle cry minion, and then you cast something in lieu of effect veiler and negate the battle cry. I think that would be really cool to just have, and you'd have to keep mana up on your turn to use and stop the card and stuff like that. I would be really interested in seeing in Hearthstone. All right, last question from our friend Solemn here reads, how do you deal with toxicity in game, like roping on purpose? This has been a popular topic in the community over the last couple months with emoting your opponents and trying to tilt them. I think roping on purpose fits that category as well. I'm gonna make an entire different video on how to not tilt and how I keep an even keel mentally while I'm playing, because some people in my chat daily are like, wow, if that's anybody but bad, if that happened to anybody else, they would be flipping out. And I stay calm. My biggest advice to you guys, if you're dealing with someone who's roping you on purpose, I like to take the time on my opponent's turn to think through my plays. I think it's more valuable that my opponent's taking the time to do their stuff, whether on purpose or not, and I get to further analyze my hand and the matchup that I'm in and improve my plays that way. Because you only get, whatever it is, 75, 90 seconds, whatever it is on your turn. So anything I can get, any extra time I can get on my opponent's turn is a huge deal. So instead of seeing the negative, maybe try and spin it into something positive for yourself and approach it that way. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoy me and my content, please hit the subscribe button below. I'd really appreciate the help. And you can catch me live on Twitch Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern.